Thanks, Ryan. So now I'd like to introduce Lynda Sherma from the Hamptons Community League. So Lynda's been with the Hamptons League since the steering committee in 2012. When they formed in 2013, she became the facilities director, thinking that this was going to be about her speed because they didn't have a facility. So she thought, perfect, that's the right position for me to have on the board. Well, anyway, she was asked by the board to take the president's position just to help get them over a rough spot. Many of you have heard that line before. Anyway, 4 years later, she's still the president. So Lynda was born and raised in Edmonton. Her parents worked and were involved with the Rio Terrace Community League. And so she is very familiar with Community League life as well. She believes that local resilience is important and knowing your neighbors is a blessing. The Hamptons Community League is built on the belief that if you live in the community, then you are a member. Their emphasis currently is to get to know your neighbors, what feels like community to them, and understand what gifts, talents, and abilities they all have that they would like to share locally with their neighborhood. And her last value is that building community through neighborly connection. So with that, I'll pass this over to Lynda to share with all of us the story about how the Hamptons has responded to COVID-19. Thank you, Lynda.
Hello, my name is Lynda Sherma, and like she said, I'm the president of the Hamptons Community League. I've been asked to share what the Hamptons Community League has done in response to COVID-19, specifically as a community league without a hall or a meeting space. So I guess without a hall, we didn't have the issues that the other leagues have of having to cancel programming and rentals, and we had no requirements to look after an asset or clean or arrange social distancing. So that would be a blessing. In the beginning, our community league's biggest challenge was to know who our neighbors were and how to get in touch with them. And so as a board, we made the decision to offer free memberships with the thought that we actually put together a little online application. We asked for all the information on family members, their ages, contact information, and their desires in the community. So what would make it feel like community to them, and then their gifts, passions, and skills that they'd like to share with their neighbors. The free membership has been very successful for us. We have a large number of families provided information. So we probably have 640 families out of our 1,600 households in the neighborhood. And so the information that we got from that has been a great help in our approach to COVID-19. So what have we done? I think I can sum it up in about 6 items that we've done related to COVID-19, and then a few that are in the planning stages. So the first thing we did was developed a group from our Facebook page called Heart in the Hamptons, with the thought that we needed some way to connect our neighbors, those who need, to those who were willing to provide assistance. And we had a huge uptake in that group. But what we found was everyone was in there to provide assistance, and we weren't really getting requests for assistance. So people started posting isolation busters, like Easter egg hunt, teddy bear hunt, sidewalk chalk, positive messages, crafting sessions, virtual vacations. And then they started recognizing good things in the neighborhood. So kids shoveling for the neighbors, families picking up garbage on the streets, the birds that walked across the street. And we had a distancing party on Mother's Day where everybody celebrated on their own driveway, and they even had one of their neighbors entertained with the singing. And one of the biggest, I think, was the Edmonton Public Library referrals. And so just a notification to everyone that the library provides free member or library cards, and then tips on how to access that huge resource that they provide that many really weren't familiar with. So they're free online courses, online books, movies, and children's story time were just a few. We're currently working on an online YouTube fitness program called Family Fitness Fundamentals. And that's being done by a professional coach who will have 2 to 3 sessions per week available to the family. And he believes that we all don't know the very fundamentals. And so he wants to train that He's made it easy, accessible, available for low space, few equipment requirements, to give a valuable lifelong skill that families can do together. And then we worked collaboratively with a new church in our neighborhood, the Chinese Alliance Church of Edmonton. So the church offered us a bunch of free non-medical masks that one of their congregants who had a manufacturing facility rejigged her facility to make these masks. When we put out the call for that, we got a huge response with signups, and we were able to distribute, well, I think we distributed 700 masks in our neighborhood, and most of them were just the day before Mother's Day. So we were really hoping that we would protect some of our neighbors at that time that was getting a little bit difficult to distance from mom. In addition, the church has offered our neighbors low-cost family garden plots, and they're in a location where we have our multifamily facilities where they might need some room to grow their own. And then speaking of grow your own, we got Una from the city of Edmonton became our new rep and sent out this information on the PopUp Garden. And I think we got it just days before the deadline. And that was just a blessing to us, because one of the things in our neighborhood is that people wanted to garden, and somebody wanted to lead and somebody wanted to learn. And so this process was so facilitated by the city, it was just amazing. And so the decision of our community league is, because we have no place to meet, we're always looking for places to gather. And so our community garden is a shared garden. So it's not a family plot where all neighbors are invited to come. Everyone's invited to eat, taste, smell, whatever. And so our objectives were food security, both in our neighborhood. We know that there are a number of families that have food security issues, and we expect that there would be more during COVID. And so we wanted the kids to just be able to walk down the street and have something out of the garden. And then with hopes that we would have an abundant harvest, the rest will go to the Edmonton Food Bank. We have community volunteers who planned and will plant, tend, and harvest the gardens. And like I say, everybody's invited. We're also going to do a teaching in the garden. And so we're going to do Facebook Live videos on the progress as it goes through. So we'll sort of show the process from seed to harvest, with the hopes that it will encourage people to come out or learn something even indoors. And what we learned is that kids involved in a garden eat more vegetables and fruit, and they carry the gardening skill to many generations. Our garden will be 100% edible, so it's fruit, vegetables, and flowers. And there's a tremendous number of flowers you can eat. I had no idea. So it's been a whole learning experience for me. And then we'll have little plant signs in each one of the square feet of garbage I think they're called square foot gardens. And so it'll say, what is this? How long does it take before it's ready to eat? What sensory experience can I get from this? So if it's mint, you can pinch it and smell it, or touch the leaves of things. And so it's encouraging touch, smell, feel, taste, and growth. The other thing is just encouraging healthy, positive community experience and combating some unsavory activity that was going on in that parking lot. The police tell us the more people around, the more you drive away the unsavory, and to promote inclusivity. And so one of the things that we're doing is trying to learn what things would grow in a garden that would be most appealing to the various cultural groups in our area. Our fifth initiative, second last, is we always have an ongoing program of cleaning up the neighborhood, and we've had a million different names. And so the last one was a pledge to make the Hamptons a litter bit better. So the Community League offers adult garbage pickers, which are just $2.50 at the Dollar Plus store. And now the kids are really interested. So we've got kitchen tongs with those colored nylon tips at the Real Dollar store for the kids. And then we called the city and they gave us a bunch of 15 clean envelopes, which now is really just a garbage bag. So we offer it online all the time. And then on the 13th of June, we'll have a major cleanup day from Save on Foods. So the fifth and final is just like everybody else says, we're learning about technology and the importance of face-to-face communication as we isolate. So we've done Zoom, WhatsApp, Google Share Drives for our board meetings. And we also invite the neighbors to come on to Zoom with hopes that maybe if they don't have to travel, or maybe if it's the convenience of their computer, that they might come out and share some of their expertise and interest. And, you know, the planning committee meeting for the garden happened on Zoom, and it was brilliant. We had 14 people together in 4 days, I think. And so that was a very nice way. So just finally, we have some other things that we're trying to do. We've got a bunch of data, and so we're going to try and map it and send it out to get blocks, creating their own contact lists. With the harvest of the garden, we're hoping to do a produce swap with neighbors whose home gardens have excess, a fruit tree map in the neighborhood to identify fruit tree owners who would be willing to offer cuttings for grafting, a seed swap, the Facebook Live, of course, for the gardening experience. And we're planning some reach out for combating isolation. So we're asking neighbors to talk to 2 people they haven't called in a while, people to talk to the neighbor on each side, promoting the value of the face-to-face communication like FaceTime. And then a big question for us that I'd love to put out to all of you is, we'd really like an idea on how to appropriately address and support neighbors who might be experiencing mental health issues and domestic violence. And I know that that's a bit of a touchy issue, and so we don't have a good plan for that. But at any rate, we're moving and shaking and enjoying it and getting some very positive feedback on the things that are going on. Thanks for the opportunity to share.
Thank you, Lynda. That is awesome. Just really great to see how much you're addressing some of the food security issues in your community, and I'm really glad to see how much you're, thinking about the other issues in the neighborhood that maybe are not seen so easily, such as mental health and domestic violence. So, folks, Lynda's email address was up on the previous slide. Janita, if you could just put it up one more time. If you have any resources or information that you'd like to share with Lynda, I encourage you to just reach out and send her an email. Again, as we mentioned, we will have opportunity later on today for some conversation in your district groups, but it's just a little bit more complicated than we can handle to do full-on conversation with this many people online. But thank you, Lynda, for this. It's wonderful to hear the work that you're doing, and especially, as Lynda mentioned, I had asked her to come speak because I said the experience of a league that doesn't have a facility and recreation amenities through this process has been very different, and I'm really glad that you could share all the work that you're doing, Lynda. It sounds wonderful, so thank you.